Hey there. Welcome to another episode of D20 Sundays. I wanted to bring attention to you this tweet by Shiloh at Lunarliff on Twitter. Give them a follow. They're actually pretty, interesting. As you can see, it says, looking for some other D&D 5e DMs to give me some tips. What are some ways to make combat, just random encounters and boss fights, more engaging for a higher level party? They're around level 7 and obliterate anything I throw at them. Well, I decided to help Shiloh by, responding as quickly as I could over Twitter and saying that, it's actually a common problem. How do I make this encounter interesting? This goes over the mechanics of how to essentially plan out an encounter, how to do the combat and all that. But it doesn't really tell you how to make the combat or the encounter itself interesting. How do you make the combat interesting? Well, some quick and easy tips is to, one, make things a little more animated. Make them, I don't mean like actually draw them out, but more of make the characters that they're going against, even if they're just some rando, NPC throwaway that you dug from the monster manual. It doesn't matter. Make them their own little person. Even if you just give them a funny voice or just a simple throwaway name like Bob. It's like, oh, you killed Bob. Why'd you kill Bob? Okay, something like that. Make them seem more realistic, in other words, by giving them each like little quirks or, something defining about each one of them. This will help make an encounter more interesting because the players will feel like that they're fighting something that isn't just a throwaway, even though it is a throwaway. You got a bunch of gnolls that are coming after you. Well, they're just gnolls. Well, now they're gnolls, but, each one's moving a different way. Maybe one's got a bit of a limp, but even though he's got a limp, the other one's, fear and respect him. One's a lot older than the others, even though that's not very common with gnolls. Like, how did this one get so old and still is able to be a fighter? Different things like that. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, be very descriptive when it comes to the room, or essentially the area that they're having the encounter in. Be descriptive of, I don't mean like down to the last little crack and crevice in the ground, but more of make sure that you go over the details of where they are so that way they can kind of better imagine in their heads what the area around them is like. Maybe they decide to use the crates that are nearby as a means of cover, or perhaps they decide to start tearing boards off the crates and using them as makeshift weapons. I've had that happen. Things like that. Or maybe they decide to use the carpet, try and grab it and yank it out from underneath another person's feet to try and trip them up. That can definitely be done and should definitely be there. So the players aren't going to react upon doing that unless they see it. And if the players don't think, oh hey, I'm just going to yank the carpet out from underneath him, then maybe after a couple of rounds, one of the NPCs or one of the, gnolls or something goes, I'm going to yank the carpet out from underneath you. And then the players will be like, oh crap, I didn't think of that. And they think that gnoll is brilliant for it, if just for a moment before they kill it. So, you've got, make them a little more described. Make the area around them described. What else can you do? Well, for the lack of a better term, give them a gimmick. Make them something. Maybe these gnolls are actually barricaded up in a spot that the players are trying to drive them out of. And these gnolls have put a barricade up to that they can shoot out of like little arrow slits. But the players are having a hard time getting their arrows in. And have the barricade absorb any like fireballs or spells that, are thrown at it first. Kind of like a redirecting spell that maybe one of the gnolls knew and cast it over the barrier so that way all magic's drawn to it before it's drawn to them. Different things like that can help make an encounter interesting in the fact that your players are now going to have to think of different ways or have to overcome an obstacle in order to actually get through the encounter. Maybe the boss is, hidden behind some locked doors or cell cages or something, and they have to figure out a puzzle before they can actually get to the boss to fight him. Until then, he's just taking random pot shots at them with magic or with a crossbow or something. It's like, oh, yeah, you can't get to me, but, I can still shoot at you now and then. So the players have to, while in cover and trying to hide from line of sight, they're trying to figure out the puzzle or the way of opening the doors to where they can get to the boss and actually fight him. Different things like that. And I feel like, while that's not covered in the Dungeon Master's Guide or any of the books, that is something every DM should definitely know. It makes things a little bit harder in some sense. That way you don't want to constantly use the same gimmick. You don't want to constantly use the same descriptive tropes and so on. But that's kind of half the fun of being a Dungeon Master, was coming up with different gimmicks, different ways of making each encounter and each NPC that they run into interesting. Maybe the group of goblins that they're fighting against are extremely organized and not nearly as chaotic as other goblins are. Why are these ones moving like a well-oiled military machine versus all the other tribes we fought against are just chaotic messes? So, give that some thought. Green tea. It's always good after a workout. I just came from the gym and fitness. Yeah. But anyways, that's what I feel like is the best way I could sum up a good, not only explanation, but tip. Three good tips. 4 good tips. How many ever tips I gave you. Just have fun. If you can make the encounter fun for yourself, then your players are going to have fun too. And really, that's not all that matters. And don't forget that not every encounter has to be to the death, and perhaps finding a diplomatic solution is always good too. Anyways, that's it for this D20 Sundays. Catch you next time.